Hey guys, it's your girl Abby and I'm back with another video. In this video, I'm going to be answering all your questions. I recently put out a post on Instagram asking you guys to ask me whatever questions you may have, and you guys definitely delivered. You asked a lot of questions, and so I am going to be answering them as honest and as authentic as possible. So let's get into the video. Okay, so the first question is from Fabian Elatitia. Hi girl. Your question is, are you working on a poem book? The answer to that question is not currently, but it's definitely something that I would want to do. A lot of you guys have asked me on TikTok and Instagram if I'm writing a book, if that's something that I'm going to be like releasing or something that I'm going to be putting together. And the answer is like, I really, really want to. I love poetry. I love reading poetry. I love writing poetry. I love storytelling. And so it's something that I definitely want to do, hopefully in the near future. So maybe, not currently working on it, but maybe. Okay, the next question is from Zen Martis. And your question is, what do you think about being submissive as a woman? How can I stop being insecure? Well, that's a loaded question. What do I think about being submissive as a woman? Okay, so this is my personal opinion and it's definitely not the norm, so like brace with me, okay? I think as women, it's important to be submissive, but the real question should be, who are we being submissive to, right? Because I think a lot of women, including myself in the past, have thought that because I'm dating someone or because I'm with someone, because I'm in a relationship with someone, that means that I have to be submissive to them. That's my call as a woman. And I think that's where we can get things a little bit misconstrued, and we can actually get ourselves in like kind of difficult and problematic situations because we end up submitting to the wrong man, right? And so I think as women in general, I think it's important for women to be submissive in terms of like in a marriage relationship. I think it's super important, and I think it balances the balance of a relationship, right? There's roles that men take and there's roles that women take, and I know that sounds like super conservative and super traditional, but that's just what I believe. But if you're not married and you're dating someone or in your relationship with someone, I don't think it's important to be submissive to that person, because the dating phase, right, and even when you're in a relationship, right, that is the phase where you're kind of getting to know the person, right? If you're not married, you're still kind of getting to know that person, seeing, is this someone that I could be married to in the future potentially, right? So that doesn't require you to be submitted to that person, right? You gotta figure out, okay, who is this man submitted to, right? Because you want to be submitted to a man that is submitted to God, right? Because ultimately, if you're submitted to a man that's submitted to God, you're submitted to God, right? So yeah, it isn't necessarily that we should be submissive, or let's say this. I think it's important for women to be submissive, but I think it's even more important that we're submissive to the right person, and that person is the man that you are married to, right? Because I'm assuming that if you got to that marriage point, you've decided, okay, this is a good man. This is a man that, you know what I'm saying, got his heart straight, got his mind straight. And so therefore, you should be submissive in that context. If it's not in that context, mommy, don't be submissive. Don't do it. Okay, next question is from Banji. Hi, Banji. Apart from creating content, what else do you like doing on your spare time? Ooh, this is a good question. Okay. I like how you said apart from making content, because that really be like most of my time. I'd be making content most of my time. Okay, so apart from making content, honestly right now I'm like super into music, and so like if I'm at home, I'm listening to DJs, like their sets, their mixes, and that kind of thing. I've just been into like jazz, funk, I'm a piano, house, all of that good stuff, right? So I use my iPad a lot. Like the app Procreate is so amazing. I like sketch and put together like different graphics just for fun sometimes. So music, sketching, graphics. On my free time, I like to hang out with like a lot of my friends. I am introverted, but I'm also very extroverted, and so I've realized that like I can only be by myself for a certain amount of time, and then I gotta go outside. Like, I need to have conversations, I need to do something. And so I like to just go out for dinner or go out to like little concerts. Like this week, me and my friends went to like a small little concert that was happening in the city, and that was fun. So just, you know, small little things that bring me enjoyment: music, art, friends, good company, good conversation. Okay, the next question is from Living with Karina. Hi, Karina. Your question is, how do you motivate yourself on days when you may deal with self-doubt and feeling unworthy? Wow, that's a good question. Okay, when I'm dealing with doubts, which honestly happens pretty often, like I can get in my head very often and really psych myself out. Sometimes I feel like I'm not doing enough work. I should be using my time more wisely. And I think when we get in those headspaces and those phases where we feel like, oh, I'm not enough, oh, I'm not doing enough, we try to overcompensate. And so when I start to doubt myself and feel unworthy, I just try and take a moment and say, okay, listen, Abby, like, not everything has to happen overnight, and not everything is gonna happen overnight. And so it's day by day, right? I remind myself it's day by day. Do your best today and let that play out over time, right? If I show up doing my best every day, as much as I can with what I have that day, then that is enough. I don't have to go above and beyond. And so even when I feel like, oh man, I'm not doing enough, oh man, I'm not good enough, I'm not this, I'm not that, remind myself I can still put my best foot forward even when I'm feeling like this, and that is enough, right? Me doing the best I can with what I have is enough, and eventually in the long run, right? Like looking at it from bird's eye perspective, it's all going to play out and it's all going to work out. And I think the thing that's really been bringing me peace lately is the idea that you never know what the future is going to hold. I get super in my head sometimes because I'm like, man, I'm not doing enough. I'm not doing enough. But then I'm like, you don't even know what next week has for you. You don't even know what next month has for you, you know? And so while I'm over here thinking I'm not doing enough, I'm not this, I'm not that, I don't even know what's on the way. You know what I'm saying? I could have an amazing and big opportunity that's in transit. My dreams could come true. It could be on transit right now. And I'm here thinking I'm not good enough. I'm not this, I'm not this. No. What I'm supposed to do is show up every single day and do the best that I can and know that everything is going to work out when it works out, right? And so it's just like reminding myself, like, you have no idea what the future holds. And I don't know, I have faith that the future is going to be bright. And so just reminding myself of that and reminding myself that all I have to do is show up and do the best that I can with what I have each day. And that's enough. Okay, the next question is by the Jade Effect. Hey Jade. Your question is, how to accept new people into your life after protecting your space and peace for a long time? Whew. Okay, that's a good question. I feel like that's a super relatable question for a lot of us because sometimes we have phases that we get into where we feel like we need to kind of cocoon and we need like our alone time, whether we're in a phase of healing or a phase of like changing, right? Like our personality is changing, our interests are changing, we're growing. And so we feel like we have to cocoon. And so I think your question is, how do I come out of that cocoon and like be a part of the world again, right? I think it's important for the people that are in a cocoon to remember that although your cocoon is important and although you're filling yourself with a lot of knowledge, you need other people, right? I think for me, I definitely went into a space of like, I don't want to be friends with any of my friends anymore. I want like a new group of friends. I want a new group of people because I'm just not the same person anymore. And what I realized after like kind of cutting off a lot of people is that, man, like that was kind of unnecessary. You could still be healing and growing and glowing and doing all that stuff, but still have people around you and still honor and respect the relationships you have. And so for anyone that's kind of in that cocoon space, remember that like you don't have to cut off everybody. You don't have to be completely by yourself. It's important to have relationships. And even though those relationships don't fully pour into you, it's important to still have some type of, you need friends is what I'm trying to say. And so if you are in a place where like you've been hiding, I think just like encouraging yourself and remembering that, you know, like there is no pressure to be perfect. There is no pressure to be a certain version of yourself or to show up as a certain version of yourself. You were in a cocoon phase and you were doing your self-work and you were, you know, pouring into yourself. And so the way that you come out, or the way that you come back into the world, is authentic to you, right? Be authentic to you. And if whoever that person is, right, whoever that new you is, walk in it with confidence, and like know that the people that resonate with who you are now are you're gonna attract them, right? And so just my advice, I guess, would be is just to be yourself, like really and truly just be yourself. And remember that there is no pressure to be a certain type of way. There is no pressure to do certain things or be a certain type of person. Just be you, and the people that gravitate towards you are going to gravitate towards you. Yeah, I kind of rambled, but I hope that answered your question. Okay. Oh, the Jade Effect also asked, what is your favorite hobby currently? That kind of goes to that other question of like the things that I've been doing, like just making sketches and graphics on my iPad, hanging out with friends. I also started beading recently, like making beaded necklaces and bracelets and that kind of thing. So that's kind of been my new hobby. Okay. The next question is by Sony. Hi, Sony. Your question is how to heal. Girlfriend. That is a very broad question. And I don't really know how to answer that. How to heal. It depends what you're healing from. It depends, you know, everything, every trauma, everything that you're healing from has a different route. And so I would say just broad answer, how to heal is connecting to God and connecting to yourself, connecting to something that's bigger than you. And that's probably the best way that you can go about healing. But that is a very broad question. So I don't know. Okay, the next question is by Her Journey. Hi. She says, I like what you speak about in your reels. It really helps me in my understanding. Thank you. I'd like to know how you know the things you know. Do you self-study? Okay, how do I know the things that I know? I would honestly say a lot of the things I know, I mean, there's a lot of things that I don't know, but the things that I do know have just come from lived and learned experiences. I think I am just in general a very curious person, a very curious and introspective person. And so anytime I go through something, a lot of my life lessons have come from like heartbreak over the past years. And so whenever I go through these, I guess, life-changing or really dramatic experiences, I am very introspective, and so I think about everything, which is not necessarily a good thing, but I think really deeply. I ask questions. I always have questions. Why did that happen? Why did that play out? What did I do? How did I affect the situation? How am I going to move forward? How am I going to avoid the situation in the past? And so I'm always thinking and asking myself questions, and not only asking myself questions, but looking at a greater power to answer those questions, right? Because sometimes I don't have the answers. Some things are unexplained, and so like just connecting to God for me brings me so much peace and wisdom. And I think when we've been through difficult situations and we rely on God, He fills us with the knowledge and wisdom to carry on further. And so when I do come across a similar situation in the future, I then apply the wisdom and the knowledge that I learned from the past, and then more wisdom seems to come from that. And so long story short, I think I've had a lot of lived experiences that I didn't let overcome me. I actually took them as an opportunity to grow even more, to be even more introspective, to be even more curious about myself, about life, about other people. And that has what has lended me the knowledge that I have now, right? So yeah. Okay. The Journey also asked, do you believe in being a part of a church community? And did you go through discipleship? Okay, if I'm being honest, I don't really know what discipleship is, so I guess that's the clear answer. No, I did not go through discipleship. I'm assuming that means like where someone teaches you, kind of like mentorship, I'm assuming. If that's the case, no, I've never been through discipleship or any type of mentorship or anything like that. Like I said, like a lot of what I know is really just from learned experiences. Like I'm living and I'm learning and I make mistakes and I learn from those mistakes. And by all means, I'm not perfect and I don't know everything. Trust me, there's so much that I don't know. I've been so humbled in the past year. But yeah, I've never been through discipleship. Do I believe in being a part of a church community? Of course. I think that's really good. For me, honestly, that's something that I want to like really incorporate in my life, is like being a part of a church community, because it's really comforting and it's really nice to be around people that have similar beliefs or similar foundation as you. I love being around people that don't have those views as well. Like, my best friend is the complete opposite of me. You know what I mean? Like, we always joke about the fact that we're so different. We're so opposite, but for some reason it works. But I definitely think it's important to be a part of a group or a church community where you do have like the same foundational beliefs. It's comforting and it's encouraging. Okay, we're going to answer a couple more questions and then we'll end it there. So the next question is by Beauty B. Hey girl. Are you in touch with your emotions? Also, love all the way from South Africa. Woo! South Africa. Hello. Okay, question was, are you in touch with your emotions? Long story short, I think I'm too in touch with my emotions. You know what I'm saying? Like, my emotions and me, we like besties to the point where it's like, okay, I need my space, sweetheart. Like, you a little bit too close. You a little too close for comfort, mommy. You know what I mean? So, yes. I'm very in touch with my emotions, and I think sometimes I need to take a step back and like, okay, emotions, relax. We don't have to be together 24/7. Sometimes we can just chill. So yeah, I'm very in touch with my emotions, and I think it has its pros and cons. Like, you don't want to be overly attached to your emotions. I think I'm just sensitive in general, but having emotional intelligence is super important too. Like, you learn so much from it. So yeah, I hope that answered your question. Okay. Next question is by OD. Hi, OD. What helps you become you? Whoa. That's a deep question. I think I'm honestly going to attribute it to the people in my life. Whether they're still in my life or not in my life, I think every single person that I have come across has helped me become me. Like, yeah, long story short, every single person that has come in my journey has shown me a different side of who I am. I think in the past year or so, it's really been like a smack in the face, like, boo-boo, you can't hide no more. And it's really attributed to like the people that have been in my life, to just show, like, being just mirrors to me, like, sweetheart, this is you. Like, this is you, and you really can't, like, you could hide and you can run from it, but this is you. Do with it as you may. And so yeah, like, the people in my life have been mirrors. They show me who I am, they show me who I'm not, and ultimately that leads me even closer to who I am. So yeah. Okay, this question is from It's Joseph Jr. Hi Joseph. Your question is, do you smoke? I'm curious. Oh, sorry. Do you smoke weed? I'm curious. Okay. I do not. I'm not going to sit here and say I've never smoked weed. I would say, you know, a casual smoker. Like, I would smoke if I go out or that kind of thing. Kind of like having like a glass of wine when you're out for dinner or like at a party or something like that. But with that being said, I don't necessarily recommend smoking weed. I don't think, this is a bit controversial. I know people are like, weed is medicine, weed is medicine. I don't think weed is medicine. Sorry. I don't think it's a good idea to smoke. This is a deeper topic and we can like get into it more if you want. I can make like a whole video on it. But basically, long story short, what I've realized is that weed kind of numbs certain things, and if we're looking at mind, body, soul, I think of health as mind, body, soul. And so weed might be good for your mind, as in, you know, it maybe helps you be a little more creative, see things from different perspectives. And it might be good for your body, right? The amount, depending on the amount of CBD for your body, it relaxes and it calms. But health for me is mind, body, spirit. And so when I think of spiritually, what weed is doing to me spiritually, it's not a good thing, because what it does is it numbs me through certain pains, or it numbs me through difficult times, right? We're stressed. Let me pick it up and just smoke a little bit, right? And so spiritually, we're not gathering the tools that we need to gather in order to work through the issues or work through life, right? And so I think spiritually, it doesn't really help us, right? And I think, like I said, health is mind, body, spirit, and we need that three-legged stool to find health, to find wellness. And so anything that isn't for my spirit, I don't want from my mind or my body. And so I don't smoke. I have smoked in the past, like occasionally, but also don't recommend it. Okay, last question by a foray podcast. I just started podcasting on mental health related issues. Sometimes I feel blank on what to talk about. How do I hear from God for the next topic? Sometimes I pray but still hear nothing, yet I don't want to quit. How do I get over the sting of zero interactions or interest in my podcast? Wow, okay. I would say, like, if podcasting, or let's just say content creation in general, if that's something that you're genuinely passionate about, and that's like definitely something you want to do, you've kind of honestly got to persevere through the times where you don't feel creative, where you don't have content, where you don't have things to speak about. And I think the best way to create content nowadays is just to be authentic and free. And so even though you don't have an outline for the podcast, or you don't have a specific thing that you're talking about, maybe you could just be open and honest about where you are. Like, you could talk about not having ideas, right? And that could turn into something. And so it's just kind of being creative in, I guess, the perspective that you're creating content. You don't have to have everything planned out. You can just, creating content is a way of expressing, right? It's expression. And so just think of it like that in a way. And if this is something you're really passionate about, man, like, you just got to keep doing it, keep pushing forward, and know that, like, it's going to pay off eventually, right? Even when you have zero reactions, even when you have no one commenting, no one sharing, as if no one's looking, you've got to have that passion for it, that, or not, let's not say passion, but you've got to kind of have, like, I think the best thing for me, let's say this, is having like a mission statement, right? Like, why am I creating this content? Why am I creating this podcast? What is your mission statement? What is the purpose of the content that you're creating? And so in those moments when you're like, oh, why am I doing this? Remind yourself, I'm doing this to help X, Y, and Z. I'm doing this to spread this message. Whatever your mission statement is, go back to that and remember, okay, this is what it boils down to. This is why I'm doing it, right? And if you really believe in that mission statement, eventually things will play out. Eventually things will come. And so you've just got to really stand firm on that and believe in your mission statement, believe in the content that you're creating. And eventually, the more comfortable you get, the more you start to produce content, the quality increases. Things are incremental. Things grow incrementally. It's not overnight, right? Like we said in the beginning of the video, one day at a time. We got to take things one day at a time. So even if no one's watching, even if no one's liking, man, you know why you're doing this. You started it for a reason, and so continue for that very same reason. I think that's it. Okay, let's see if I answered. Okay, the last question, because I kind of want to answer everybody's question. Spiritual protector, how do you perceive the soul shaping the body? Huh? The soul shaping the body? I don't know. How do I perceive the soul shaping the body? I think the soul is like your soul, and then like your body is your body, and like your body is what houses the soul. But I don't know about your soul shaping your body, like your body embodying your soul. I think all of us are like that. I definitely embody my soul. Hello. But yeah, I don't know. I hope that answered your question. Okay, last question by I think it's Kevin Williams. Hello, Mr. Sir. What inspires you to be a motivational minister? Mr. Kevin. Mr. Williams, I ain't no motivational minister. That is very kind of you to say to me, but I am not a motivational minister. I would not consider myself a minister in any way, shape, or form. Motivational, I could take that one because, I'd be motivating myself. And you guys say I'm really inspiring and encouraging. But what inspired me to do it? Wow, that's a long question too, man. I thought this was going to be a quick answer. Okay, long story short, 3 years ago, I started my YouTube channel, and it was really just for like fun. I wanted to share my personality because I think I'm funny. I think I have like a really bubbly personality sometimes, and I thought it would be entertaining. So I was like, let me put like some fun YouTube videos on the YouTubes and see what happens. Now, I ended up making a video about finding your confidence, right? And I'm telling you guys, not to sound like this super like spiritual, oh my God, woo woo. But when I made that video, it was as if something clicked. I was like, oh, this is what I want to do. Yeah, like I want to talk about things that actually matter. Yeah, I want to incorporate scripture, because this is what genuinely helps me. Like when I'm insecure and when I'm feeling not confident, when I'm heartbroken, scripture is what comforts me. And I can see how scripture can be applied into my daily life, and I want to share that with other people. And so writing that video out, recording that video, editing that video, putting scripture in it, I was like, yo, if someone gave me this 2 years ago, it would have been so beneficial and it would have been so powerful. And so in that moment, I can say honestly that I was like, oh, this is what I want to do. Oh, this is me, right? And then fast forward a couple years, I fell off the YouTube. I was really just going through life, and then, you know what I'm saying, there was that whole world thing that happened. Everything shut down. I was working. I didn't have time. I lost motivation. And then I think I came back to my senses, to the thanks of the people that were in my life. And life circumstances came back to my senses, and here I am. So what motivated me, I think it was just like, I just knew that this is something that I wanted to do, and this is something that I'm passionate about, and this is something that I care about, and I wish I had when I was younger. And so a lot of time the content that I'm making, or the things that I talk about, are things that I wish I knew 5 years ago, things I wish I knew 10 years ago, when I was like a preteen, a teenager, trying to figure things out, like, you know, going through life, going through confusion, like, what does this mean? What does that mean? Why do I feel like this? Why am I like this? I wish I had this knowledge. I wish I had this sort of wisdom at that time. And so I think of what I'm doing now as like, yo, I went through X, Y, and Z, and I had to figure out X, Y, and Z. This is what I've come up with. If I knew that back then, man, I'd be unstoppable. Man, I wouldn't have, you know, dug the holes that I dug and put myself under them, right? I wouldn't have stayed down for so long. And so here, take what I've learned and apply it to you, because I want you to do better than I did, right? I want you to go further than I did. I don't want you to experience the pain, the heartache, all the things that I've experienced, the anxiety. Don't worry about it. Like, here you go, you know? Put this in your toolbox. I wish I had it in mine. And so that's what inspired me. That's what motivated me to just be on here doing what I'm doing. But anyways, that was the last question. Thank you guys so much for sending in these questions. This is super fun to just talk and, like, you know, get to know each other. I honestly thought you guys would ask more like personal questions, like things about me. But it's been kind of like, it's kind of good, like, to just talk about things that actually matter. Like that's what this is about, to talk about things that actually matter. So thank you guys. Definitely leave a comment below, your thoughts, your ideas. And if you like videos like this, I think we should do it more. Like, maybe we can have a topic and you guys send in all your questions regarding that topic and we just talk about it. That would be kind of fun. It would be more funneled and centered towards one topic instead of everywhere. But that's just an idea. Let me know what you think in the comments below. And thank you for watching this video. I love you guys so